Welcome to the Americana Bistro Girl. I'm your host, Roberto Alvarez-Galloso, serving you the best in Americana music. We're right here, starting in our own office, enjoying life here with solar energy, and we have as an invite one of the greatest singer-songwriters from Texas, Casie Luong. I'm gonna see if she is ready to be invited. Let's see, 1 minute. Please help me, help me, help me, help me. Help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. 1, 2. If we can't get her in Facebook Live, we're gonna do the Messenger. But let's see. Okay, we have just invited Casie Luong, and we are hoping that she makes an appearance here. 1 minute. Let's hope that she makes an appearance. Are you here, Casie? Have you arrived? Let's see. I hope I did this right. Please. Okay, we invited Casie. Okay, Casie, let's hope you're. We already sent you the invite. We're just waiting for you to answer. Hopefully. Let's see if she's ready to answer or not. Or Casie, are you there? Are you there, Casie? Always had problems with these Facebook Lives. They always ended up doing Facebook Messenger. Let me try one more time. 1 minute. Okay, are you there, Casie? Hello? If you see me... Just 1 minute. Great, Casie. Great. Okay, we're right here, Casie. Let's hope everything comes out okay. Yes, you're there? Okay. Hello, Casie. Finally.
So good to be with you.
For me, it's a pleasure and honor meeting you.
Oh, likewise.
I've wanted to meet you for a long time, and I was afraid that I had failed in Facebook Live.
Oh, not at all. This is my first time using Facebook Live, so you're more of the expert than I am.
Well, I don't pretend to be an expert in computers. After all, in theory, I'm an old timer. Although I have been told many times in life that I have been more advanced than other people. And I'm talking about the 20th century. For us, it's a pleasure and an honor having you. And I would like to say that we wanted to invite you because we wanted to talk about everything that had to do with Casie Luong, and music-wise and career-wise. Number one, how did you get started as a singer and as an actress? I saw everything in your. I saw everything. I saw your whole blogs. I saw some of your videos. I also saw your webpage. And that leads me to the question: how did you get started?
Well, first of all, thank you so much again, Roberto. This is so nice to be on your show, and I've listened to a lot of your shows, and I really enjoy them. So how I got started as a singer and an actress, I was singing in church choirs and school choirs ever since I was in 4th grade, and I did competitions, so I just always loved music. My dad played guitar and sang a lot of songs from the 70s, and so I just grew up around that, and so I started playing classical piano at the age of 10, so I was always doing music, and so I guess that's maybe how I got started, was when I was 10, just playing and doing competitions. And acting, I really didn't do too much acting. I did some musical theater in high school, but I really got more serious about acting probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah, the reason why I said actress, because I saw your webpage, and I also think I saw you in, if I'm not mistaken, imdb.com, in which they mentioned you not only as a singer but as an actress.
Yes, that's right.
And imdb.com, I usually I look at imdb.com a lot of times.
Ah.
Not only to do the questions that I want to do for the artists, but because I also have artist friends here in Miami, and also my cousin. Right now she's in theater, but at what time she was a soap opera actress in Cuba in the 70s.
Wow.
And then a soap opera actress here.
Oh, that's amazing.
I found out in the 70s. I found out that she was a soap opera actress in Cuban television while I was in Venezuela. Venezuela in the 70s was Venezuela in the 70s was Venezuela. You could get anything, and they even had Cuban television. When in America they didn't have them. When in America they didn't have Cuban television, and she at 15, 16, she was in the soap operas. And then
that's amazing.
And then she later did soap operas here.
Wow.
That's why I look at the mdb.com. So,
yes.
Which leads me to the other thing. I heard many of your EPs. Grow, How Did I, and Easy Lately. Also, you did some EPs.
Yes.
Also, you did some EPs, live concerts, if I'm not mistaken, or like little live concerts. I think one of the record covers or EP covers showed you and some of your colleagues. Either they're rehearsing in a studio or in a restaurant.
Yeah, it could be both. But it was in a studio. That was me and my band a couple years ago. We got together and recorded it live, and that was a really great experience. It's a really nice, small, intimate studio that my friend was engineering at. So we did a live recording at that studio.
I'm glad. When you did the recordings, which is much more different? The studio recordings in which everything is already prearranged, or the live ones? Which do you prefer? The live or the ones already prepared?
That's a hard question. They're both fun because the one in the studio is more intimate. You know, you're working with your bandmates and you can sort of control the environment a little bit more. So you talk about things and you really feel the energy together in an intimate setting. But then again, I really love live. I love the surprise of a live performance, the energy of the audiences in a live performance. There's something really, really magical about that. Whatever happens in a live performance stays in a live performance, right? That moment doesn't happen again, and you can't recreate it. And so I think there's something really wonderful about that.
Yeah.
So I think I probably prefer live.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same thing too. I'm unlike other people who are in quarantine. I'm like in semi-quarantine here, there, and everywhere. I go out a lot, and I use masks outside, but I'm like in semi-quarantine. But I'm now doing live instead of pre-recorded shows. And I'm beginning to like. I'm loving live right now. Right now, I'm doing live, and I'm enjoying every minute.
Exactly. Also, my mom just joined the live show too. Hi, Mom.
Tell her that I said hi.
Yes, absolutely.
There's nothing more important than the family.
Absolutely.
Without family, and also for those who believe in God, without God and family, we're nowhere.
Absolutely. Yep, we're 100% believers in that.
Yeah, and tell your mom that I said hi.
I will.
And I also want to tell your mom that you have been a big blessing in Texas and in American music. We're a newer generation, at least. Well, I'm not a newer generation. I'm like 58, but we're like growing, and we're growing, and we're being a lot more bigger, and we're dominating the scene compared to other times.
Yes.
And that's beautiful. Which leads me to another question.
Yes.
We've talked about your career as a singer and an actress. We talked about your EPs. Yet, I also read about your musical idols. I already read about it, but I want to know, who are your musical idols, and how did they influence you? How did they influence you in order to form what is now Casie Luong?
You know, there's a lot. Whenever I was younger, I just always loved listening to music of all genres. I think one of the first ones that really influenced me, there's a Vietnamese artist, and she copied a lot of Madonna style, and so she sang a lot of Madonna songs, like really old Madonna pop songs, and that always influenced me. I would have to say probably Madonna in a strange way through this Vietnamese artist. But I would say like I love hymns, like church hymns that I grew up with, like gospel and hymns influenced me, and other musical idols. I played classical music, so I love Beethoven and I love Ravel, and Stevie Wonder is a huge influence with me. I love everything that Stevie Wonder does and plays and sings. He influences the way I play piano, the way I think about music. The joy that I hope comes across in my music is what he inspires me to do. I love Sarah Bareilles and Billy Joel and John Lennon, Jim Croce, all these wonderful, fantastic singer-songwriters. They influence the way I write and the way that I structure my music and approach. So I think those are like the biggest ones. Anita Baker, she's an R&B singer.
I know her. I know her music. I know her music. I don't know her personally, but.
Oh yeah, her music is beautiful. Her showmanship is great. Her showmanship inspires me. Also, I love Selena. I've been learning a lot of Selena songs. Like I love again her performance is just beautiful. So I think I take away many different things from all these artists, like how they perform, their showmanship, their writing, their musicality, and I think they all are what I strive to be, which is honest in my art. And so, yeah, I think that's how they inspire me.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, all of you have mentioned Selena, Jim Croce, Stevie Wonder. I have seen some of those great influences in what is Casie Luong.
Oh, thank you.
Especially Selena and Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder, I admired his music from a long time ago, when he got started at the age of 5 or 6.
Yeah. Wow.
And the other artists that you have mentioned, Jim Croce, I also admired him too. Really great artist. Too bad he had to leave very early in life.
I know. Yes.
And you also mentioned Vietnam.
Yes.
Yeah, your parents are from Vietnam.
Absolutely. My parents are both immigrants from Vietnam, so growing up I would sing Vietnamese karaoke with them, and we would watch like Paris by Night, which is an entertainment review show in Vietnamese culture, and so a lot of that has influenced me in some ways too.
Yeah, I was as a Cuban American. I was born in Ohio. My parents were from Cuba. We've had the same. I've had the same influence, especially the Latin influence. The reason why I mentioned Vietnam was that in the year 2008, as a journalist, I went to China during the Olympics. I was wined and dined all over China, and I still remember. I don't want to give names for obvious reasons, but I remembered in a hotel there was a Vietnamese group. This Vietnamese group, I love the Cuban classics of the 50s, and I was in a hotel lobby, and there was this Vietnamese group singing the old Latin boleros and Latin songs, like if they were actually from Cuba, because Vietnam. I don't know if your mother knows or not. I'm just talking what I have seen and for what they have told me. This group and this singer told me that Cuba, long time ago, before anything happened in Vietnam, long before the war and anything, the 40s and 50s, Cuba had a big influence in music from Asia. In other words, Cambodia, Vietnam, even China had some of the Cuban influence.
Absolutely.
And this group, when they were singing the old Cuban boleros and the Cuban cha-cha-chas, I was like, my heart was like this. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, yes. My mom and dad dance dance a lot because all these different types of dance styles, like ballroom dances, influence Vietnamese culture as well. So my parents know the cha-cha-chas and like the boleros and the salsa and the rumba. They know all of those dances. So I grew up with that influence too.
Yeah, it was like hearing Tito Puente. I don't know. Probably they wanted me to feel home in their hotel, but it was very beautiful. And I was glad that you have all of these great influences, and I've loved your music.
Oh, thank you so much.
The musical, I already talked about the musical idols, the EPs, and the career as a singer and an actress. And the only thing I could bring up in the last question is, what are your hopes for the future artistically?
Yeah, I thought that's a very great question, and it was really fun to think about. I think right now, it's easy for me to get the Grammy and all these things, but I think what I really want as an artist is just to be honest with my music, with my writing. I'm working on a novel right now about my family, and my acting. I just want to be honest, and whatever that means, I think that's the most important thing. I feel like this is a blessing that God gave me, is to express myself through art. And so, yeah, that's my biggest hope for that. And with that, obviously, I would love to publish some books and act in films and TV and produce projects that I really believe in and put music out there. And hopefully influence youth in music education. That's something that I'm also part of. I help run a music camp, and we work with kids with songwriting and teach them songwriting. So, yeah, I think my hope as an artist is just to be more honest in my craft.
And you are very honest. You're one of the very few people. You're one of the very, very few people that I have known in my, about 15 years with my blog, that has been very honest. And before I started my blog, I've met many people in the artistic community. I'm not an artist. I was a physician a long time ago, and then I'm now into journalism. Now I'm into journalism. There's a saying. I hope your mother doesn't mind me saying this, but there's a saying that men have midlife crisis. My midlife crisis was I wanted to be a journalist, so I went into journalism, and in my years, with all the different people I've met, especially the artistic community, I've met some that are honest, some that are no comment, others that were no comment, but later on they fell and they came to reality very fast. The ones that came to reality very fast were the ones I met in Venezuela.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the one in the 70s, Venezuela was Venezuela, beautiful, prosperous, and everything. I was friends with everybody.
Wow.
I loved everybody that loved me and everything. But there were some people that were plastic, and there were also some people who were plastic in Miami. But with this century, when everybody loses something, they get to reality. But you've been the real deal for a long time, and I just hope that you remain the real deal.
Thank you, Roberto. That's such an honor for you to say that. Wow, thank you.
For me, it's a pleasure and an honor to say this for you. You're a really, really great person.
Thank you so much, Roberto.
I'm gonna be finishing because I almost have. Do you have anything else to offer to the world before I close? Because I'm gonna close and say goodbye to all of my public. I have a lot of people who look at me. I have them in South America, North America. Wow. I have them in Africa, Europe, and of course the people I knew in Asia: China, Vietnam, Nepal, Pakistan. They love me.
And I can see why. You're so fun to talk to, and you have such interesting stories.
Same here.
And actually, you are an artist yourself. You're a writer and a journalist.
Yes, I'm a journalist and I'm a writer. I started writing medical books.
Wow.
I wrote medical books about documentation.
That's so cool.
And of all the places that were rave reviews, there's a saying. Jesus once said, "I am not a prophet in my own country, but among others." There was a time when I was never a prophet among my place of birth, Ohio, because reasons we're not going to go into, historical reasons.
Sure.
Among my own community, the Cuban community, I was one time not appreciated. Everybody was wanting to look at the bigger people. The ones in Miami were, yeah, we have to reconstruct and everything. We don't, we like you, but we don't like, we like you, but you're always with us. Cuba, I have yet to visit Cuba. I have yet to visit Cuba. The closest I went to Cuba was when I accepted my prize in China. But they also had the same reaction from many people in Cuba, including family members. And where did I get the big appreciation? Asia. I do not forget. I do not forget. And I'm saying this because many people are having this crisis, and they're using this concerning Asia. My biggest audience, and I hope my public in China and Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos takes a look at this, and so does Nepal. I want to thank all of those countries, regardless of their situations. I want to thank them for having opened their doors to me a long, long time ago in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even then.
Wow.
And I want to thank them for also opening the doors for me in other areas. But now I'm getting very appreciated here in Texas and in the United States. But I had to give them the nice thank you. I also want to thank your mother for also opening the doors for me to not only do the interview but also to talk about these sort of things.
Absolutely.
And what was I going to say? After that, I went into blogging. I went into blogging by accident. In the year 2006, many people were starting to notice me in Miami. They knew I existed, but now they were saying, this is a guy that has to be taken into seriously. The year 2006, I participated in a contest by Univision for sports writing.
Oh, yes.
I was a sports reporter because I always loved football or soccer.
Oh, cool.
I won, and I was a special reporter for Univision for 3 months during the World Cup of 2006.
That's so cool.
That one thing led to another. Univision, they didn't want me. They said we needed other people. But I didn't want to lose what I learned from Univision. Then somehow by accident, my blog got started. It got started of all places. It was at that time some of my friends in the nursing profession. And yes, I'm doing this to also honor nursing, which is when nurses are the nurses who have been sacrificing for all of us nowadays. I'm honoring them too.
Yeah.
But I'm also thanking them for their help in launching my journalism career, from author to journalism.
Wow.
One of the nurses where I worked, because I worked in a hospital in the administrative realm. I didn't practice medicine. I did the administrative realm. You know, the insurance companies, Medicare, Medicaid, and and the managed care. Seen it, done it. But one of the nurses gave me a camera and said, "You're going to go places with journalism. Do something." She gave me the camera in August of 2006, and on the way home. This is when I was previous married to another person. I'm now in my second marriage, but my first marriage, my first wife, she said, "Get me something in a restaurant called Versailles." Versailles is a Cuban restaurant in Miami, mirrored on Versailles of France. And it was at that time in August of 2006 that Miami erupted in history. It was the news that Fidel Castro, had become sick, and that he turned over power to his brother temporarily, which became permanent. During that time, everybody was celebrating, and I took pictures and started interviewing people.
Cool.
And that's how my blog got started. I was interviewing everyone. Everybody was celebrating, and one of the people said, "Hey, you got something there. Got to start a blog or something." In fact, I don't want to be too bragging, because I'm not too bragging. I'm my own. I'm very. What is it? I'm very down to earth. I don't like to like brag or.
Modest. Oh, okay.
I'm modest, but I have to admit that the two stations, I'm not going to mention their names. One is a big conglomerate in England, and the other one is a big conglomerate in the Czech Republic. I was the first one that broke the story to them.
Wow.
Yeah, one of them was
awesome.
one of them was a friend of mine. She was born in England. Her parents were from India, and somehow she managed to call me in the cell phones when cell phones were in their infancy. And she was like, we were just like conversing and everything. I said, I'm hearing a lot of noise in Miami. What happened? When I explained it to her what had happened, she started give me all the details.
Wow.
I was interviewing
Crazy.
everybody and gave all the details.
Wow.
That's
incredible.
when my blog got started. We did everything.
Wow.
We did everything. Political, cultural, sports, you name it, we did it.
That's
And
incredible.
all of that led later on to me going to China in 2008.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wow.
We've had our ups and downs, but we have kept growing. And afterwards, after my divorce, I took journalism classes electronically in Spain. I was doing virtual classes before anyone even mentioned virtual classes.
Awesome.
Most of the people who studied with me are in the Spanish government right now as with this prime minister. But that's another issue.
Sure.
But we were going places. I managed to eventually get rid of the politics because it's very dirty, the politics. And on top of that, I was loving the sports and the culture section. Many people, after my divorce, I started rising to the occasion. And of course, I rose to the occasion after I married my second wife, which was my first love, a long time ago. But the blog kept growing. I tried to do live, but it never worked. But I was doing, I was doing sports reports in nature, in natural areas, where you could see all the nature.
That's nice.
I was doing them
Yes.
I was also doing them in restaurants.
Oh, the bistro. Hence the title, the bistro.
I'll get to that in another time. But in Spanish, I was doing my sports reports in all the restaurants. I did it.
Wow,
I did it using everything that I saw on television in Venezuela, Europe, and here in the States. I mixed everything. Even I just saw some of the old videos of Cuban television of the 50s, and some of the 60s, but mostly the 50s. And I started doing the sports, and I would have the waitresses that I knew bring me the food when I was talking. I would like rant and rave. How dare they do this? And then the waitress comes in and say, "Oh, thank you very much. Then I recommend the restaurant, and then I go back to the ranting and raving. I did a lot of that, and now I'm doing the nature films because I'm now like I'm doing sports and everything with the nature, the background. That's why I haven't done quarantine. I love going out in nature.
Sure, same.
And I only do what I could do. The grill thing, the Americana Bistro grill. What happened was after all of these videos, eventually other artists discovered me. They wanted to be in my videos. Even the soap opera artists that knew me, they knew my cousin.
Yeah.
They knew my cousin. Some of them were like saying, let's entertain him a little bit. And others were like, this is something that's going on. We know this guy. We know what he's doing. Let's do it. My cousin was very resistant. But many of them came in. And then in my LinkedIn, I received a letter from Bradenton, Anna Maria Island. I was invited to form part of their program, AMI Radio.
Oh, so cool.
The radio announcer, and I'm very thankful to him, Michael Blanchett. And he invited me, and I accepted, and I went to Anna Maria Island, and we did the first broadcasts. I met their manager, Robert Herman, rest in peace, and his wife, now his widow, Casie Hoffman. A great team, and since I had a love of music, of all music, they said, do a theme. I said, how do I do a theme? I said, they told me, you'll think of something. I thought of all of the restaurants that I was doing all of my recordings. That's how the Americana Bistro girl came to be.
Ah, I see. That's so cool.
Yeah, the Americana part was, we did the country, the rock. We dealt mostly with music from the South, the West, and the Midwest. I didn't want to deal with New York, nor did I want to deal with Hollywood. I wanted to deal with artists that have not been signed, and I also wanted to deal with the true American music, the true American artists, like you.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with the plastics because I have a sort of like a nice but not so nice relation with New York and Hollywood.
Sure. Yeah.
I do the same thing in Spanish language. I tried to avoid the high society people. Not all of them.
Right.
Most of them.
Yes.
And
I understand.
I figured I want to do all the rural areas and the states.
Oh, that's so cool.
Somehow, some of the states that came in my radar, one of them was Texas.
Yes.
My first state was Texas, and I interviewed a lot of people. I'm not going to go through the long list of people that I've interviewed from Texas.
Sure.
The only one I will do is the one that I'm seeing right now, one of the greatest, Casie Luong.
Thank you so much, Roberto.
Other states that have come were Colorado. What's the other state? My home state of Ohio also came popping up too.
Oh, I see.
And
Yeah,
that's
great.
and I found it weird because it was never much appreciated in Ohio for reasons I'm not going to enter.
Sure, absolutely.
But some of the people from Ohio were actually classmates when I was doing like a pre-med before going to Dominican Republic. Some of the people that I knew that we didn't get along well in our youth, but somehow we couldn't stand each other in the early 80s, but somehow in this for 21st century, either I had mellowed out or they had mellowed out. But I'm not going to go into details. I'm just going to say something clicked, and I now have them in my in my interviews.
Oh, wonderful. That's great.
And then others came like New Mexico and Arizona. And many people from New Mexico and from Arizona. One of the people from New Mexico that I managed to interview, but they were not in the Americana Bistro girl. They were like in an earlier stage of my career. Was the musical group Sparks. Sparks was like Selena, but they were like a quartet of women born in New Mexico, Mexican parents,
That's incredible.
and they sang traditional Spanish songs.
Sparks.
And Sparks with the X. And their songs,
Okay,
and
gotcha.
not only their personality touched me, their music, especially the Christmas song, touched me.
Oh, I have to go check them out. That's cool.
When they did Ven a mi casa esta Navidad, that is one of the very few. Ven a mi casa esta Navidad is Spanish for come to my house this Christmas.
Yes.
It softened my heart.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was one of those times when I was passing through one of the worst periods in my life. Not only after my divorce, but also my blog was suffering. And they sort of gave me a push-up, along with many of the people from Texas. That's why I'm grateful to Texas. But we kept growing. The Americana Bistro girl, as I said, we had many artists in this period of Anna Maria Island. We were growing. They were talking about big things. Then Robert Herman passed away unexpectedly. I tried to keep the program on the air in Anna Maria Island, AMI Radio, but there's a big difference. When someone in the group of four dies, you either have all three wanting to maintain and say, let's keep going and let's preserve the legacy.
Sure.
And others saying, forget it.
Yeah.
All of them forgot. Mike Blanchett, he went another path. Casey Hoffman went another path. And last year, in I think March of 2019, the Americana Bistro girl briefly went off the air.
Oh, I see.
What happened was in September and October, my blog, I decided to have democratic elections. The democratic elections it was like a referendum. I asked my public, do you want the Americana Bistro girl, yes or no? because I was doing the AG News show, but it was not the same.
Sure.
Over 80% voted for the restoration of the Americana Bistro Grill, and I restored it in October of 2019. With one difference.
Oh, wow.
With one difference. Instead of doing the music, instead of playing other people's music, I'm doing the live interviews.
Cool. That's awesome.
So we're doing the Americana Bistro Grill all around.
Love it. That's great.
We've done it all around. We hope to be around for a long time. And even in this crisis, we are still hoping to remain in the air a long time.
Wow.
Not just to provide the music, not just only to provide a platform for the artists,
Yeah.
because you need a platform given today's economic uncertainty
Absolutely.
with this crisis. In addition, the other reason why I'm keeping the Americana Bistro Grill on the air is that we're doing what is called unity. I tried to do lockdown, quarantine shows, but everybody appropriated a quarantine and lockdown show. And anyway, I don't even do quarantine or lockdown. I'm like here and there and everywhere. The only thing is I go to a supermarket, I have to wear a mask. But everything else, I'm not wearing masks. I'm going out as much as I can. And even then, if I was only to go outside of the driveway, I just film in the driveway and come back. In other words, I'm not easily put in.
Yeah.
So what I do, I use this as a unity concert, because unfortunately, this crisis has not brought the best of many people. It has brought serious divisions.
It really has.
And these serious divisions have hurt me personally. I don't belong to any parties or anything. I'm just myself. But I've heard many people who were once friends turn into the bitterest of enemies.
I know. Yeah.
And I've even had at times loss of friends and family. Although somehow we later reconciled within about 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, that's